It's time for Heat Checks and Hail Marys. This is Mike Cagley. It's the second week after college football started. We have 2 weeks of results in the books. The opening of the NFL football season is behind us. Best time of the year. We've got all sorts of things going on from a sports standpoint. But let's talk about a few things that hit me right now. Heat check number one. It didn't take long to be wrong. A trademark of mine. When you look at my predictions, there's a continuing theme. That means something's not going to be correct. And it didn't take very long this college football season for my assumptions to come totally adrift. Let's talk about a few of the bigger ones, especially if you've listened to our shows, Big Sports Radio or IlliniGuys Sports Spectacular. One would be that, in my assessment, Notre Dame was going to go undefeated after they beat Texas A&M on the road. That aged well, really well. It didn't take Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame very long to face flop and lose to Northern Illinois University in week 2. Now, anytime Notre Dame loses, that's good in my book. But NIU went from 106 to number 21, according to The Athletic. That's quite a jump in the polls. And that's a loss that Notre Dame boosters aren't soon going to forget, particularly with a history of losses that are unexpected in Marcus Freeman's tenure. And having a loss to a MAC team in year 3 is not something that's going to make a booster feel like this is a good thing and a confidence builder. One bonus, though, for the Golden Domer fans is that with a 12-team playoff, Notre Dame can still find their way into the playoff. I don't know if they can do it with 2 losses, though. I think they have to go clean the rest of the way. But with the 14 playoff, Notre Dame would be done probably with a single loss. So there is that little ray of sunshine for Notre Dame fans, but that was a staggering loss for the hopes of people who were trying to plan on where they were going to be watching a first round Notre Dame game in the playoffs. I think those hopes may be very much at risk, barring a streak through the rest of the season. But I'm not done with my bad selections, not by a long shot. I also said Iowa's worst case scenario is 10-2 with the easy schedule that they've been gifted from the Big Ten. But their offense showed little improvement from past games against Iowa State. The optimism that marked my thoughts that they would improve on offense, these Hawkeyes, may be a bit naive. Iowa looks like its defense is its typical Iowa, tough as nails. But the offense has to give the Hawkeyes more. This year, when they look back at a schedule that they miss playing Michigan, Penn State, Oregon, and USC on a schedule that could be much tougher than it is, Iowans may look back and say, wow, we had a great season, and will lament yet another season that is shot in the foot solely by the ineptitude of the Iowa offense. Still early. They can still do quite well against the rest of the schedule, but the offense will have to elevate their game. And right now, with what you've seen the last 5 years in Hawkeye land, it's fair to say, can they do that? Because I don't have the confidence that they can. Next up on the teams that I was wrong about was I thought that Michigan's defense would be great. And I thought it would be good enough to provide the offense cover early in the season so that the offense could get better. Well, that defense was beat up by a very, very, very formidable Texas team. We knew Texas was going to be good, over 100 starts on their offensive line. But the way they handled the Michigan dynamic defensive tackle duo was impressive. Quite frankly, I thought Michigan would lose something in the accordance of 21-3, where TDs are set up by turnovers, maybe a defensive touchdown by Texas to help their cause. Talking to Michigan insiders and folks who've covered Michigan for decades, they looked at this defense as being generationally good, and it may end up that way, but it isn't that way to start the season. And to make it even worse, Michigan's offense is probably not as good as I expected it to be, and I didn't think it would be very good. That brings up a final question here in this first heat check. Why did Michigan not go after a quarterback in the portal? You think of the name Arch Manning. I'm sure he probably wants to stay at Texas. His family and himself seem to have a long-term plan, but it's an easy name to use. Make Arch an offer he can't refuse. This is Michigan. They should have the ability to offer NIL opportunity for a player to earn money and offer an opportunity for a player who doesn't have playing time directly in front of him. To leave your team offenseless with a defense as good as they have is just a sin. I don't understand what Michigan's strategy was. I think they should have found a quarterback somewhere in this country who could go and compete with the guys they had in place. And if you have a fallback season to 8-5, which it's great that you're good enough to have a season like that, but even a season that they go 10-2, one wonders what they could have done with a better trigger man. And at no level in college sports or professional sports or high school sports or peewee sports is a position more important than the quarterback on a football team. And to suddenly not acknowledge that just seems absolutely crazy to me. Heat check number 2. The Illini season just hit the up button and the elevator's rising. With the win this weekend over the Kansas Jayhawks, the Illini season and expectations for the Illini success have had the ceiling removed. At least the fans think so. And certainly the national media is starting to pay a little bit of attention. Now, the Illini will face the Central Michigan Chippewas Saturday at Memorial Stadium on Peacock at 11 a.m. For those fans who are local and you don't want to have to buy another streaming service, this is a great reason to buy a ticket and go to the game. Why is the ceiling higher now for the Illini? Because they've defeated the Jayhawks? Well, currently the Illini face 3 ranked teams on their schedule: Penn State, Michigan, and Oregon, with both Penn State and Oregon on the road. But Penn State's offense has not been as consistent as they hoped, although Drew Aller's looking better, and even their defense has been a little bit inconsistent. Will they get that fixed by the time they play Illinois? Most likely so. Michigan certainly hasn't displayed much offense, as we talked earlier. And their defense was shredded by Texas in a fashion that even a good Texas team had to be a little bit surprised. And Oregon's having a slow start by Oregon standards. And of course, currently, ESPN's matchup predictor has Illinois favored against Central Michigan, Purdue, Minnesota, Michigan State, and Northwestern. If they do what they're supposed to do, that's 7-5, and the Illini are in a bowl game. Can they secure an upset in one of the games they're not supposed to win, Penn State, Michigan, or Oregon? No win is out of the question based on their upset of number 7 Penn State in 2021 under Brett Bielema in a game that set the all-time record for overtimes with 9. At the same time, the staff has to guard against the upset loss that has made life tough for the Illini in recent memory. In 2021, early season home losses to UTSA and Maryland stopped the Illini from going to a bowl despite beating both number 7 Penn State and number 20 Minnesota. The Illini ended up 5-7. In 2022, a second week loss to Indiana and head-scratching losses to Michigan State and Purdue prevented the Illini from a breakout year. that could have seen the Illini go 11-1 and have their only loss be by 2 points in a controversial fashion at Michigan. Instead, the Illini finished 8-4, a respectable record, but not a breakout record. And last year in 2023, the Illini were blown out by a fired-up Purdue team, beat by an up-and-down Nebraska team, and allowed Northwestern to slip past them to miss bowl eligibility. The Illini could have finished 8-4 instead of 5-7. The good thing is, the Illini looked impressive as they found a way to beat Kansas on a night that Brett Bielema's priorities of having his offense run the ball and having his defense stop the ball from being run didn't work as well as he desired. Against the number 19 team in the country, coming out with a win under those conditions really is an impressive feat. What happens if the Illini figure out a way to accomplish those two goals for the balance of the season? How good can they be? This could be a bowl season with a 7-5 record, but with hard work, continuous improvement, and a bit of good fortune with injuries, this could be the breakout season the Illini football program has been looking for since 2007. Stay tuned for what happens next.
Red Grange wasn't just a football player, he was a legend. Discover the untold story of Illini great Red Grange in a new novel by Doug Vilhard called The Golden Age of Red. This captivating book takes you back to the 1920s when a humble young Illinois player transformed into the galloping ghost and electrified the nation. Get your copy of The Golden Age of Red by Doug Vilhard today. Available on Amazon and wherever books are sold.
Heat check number 3. Bryce Young versus Deshaun Watson. I'm not really certain who's worse. Young appears to have regressed from last year. Is that even possible? He's stepping away from pressure. He's stepping away from no pressure. Passes are sailing high. He simply looks incredibly uncomfortable in the pocket. And one wonders if his size just makes that comfort something that will never be able for him to lock in. This would be a bad problem if he had a really good offensive line. Right now he doesn't, which makes it a worse problem. At the same time, Deshaun Watson, he has the ability to scramble out of a good pocket right into danger, turning what might be an effective play into a roll of the roulette wheel for the Browns offense. Watching the Cowboy-Browns game yesterday, he looks horrible out there. Hard to believe he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL just 4 years ago. To make matters worse, there's another lawsuit alleging sexual assault and battery from October 20 when he was the member of the Houston Texans. One is forced to think that Watson may never return to the form he had. But even worse for Browns fans, he may not even get into the neighborhood of what he used to be. The Browns gave up first-round picks in 22, 23, and 24. They gave up fourth-round pick in 22 and 24, and a third-round pick in 23. That's a bad trade. Is it worse than the Panthers trading the number 1 and number 61 pick in 2023, a first rounder in 2024, a second rounder in 2025, and wide receiver DJ Moore? It's probably worse than that. But who knows? Time will certainly tell based on the players selected. But these two teams have paid a massive price for bad quarterbacking to date. I can't fault teams for trying to find ways to win and find ways to add talent to your roster. But there were warning signs with both of these players that they may not be the great quarterback going forward that people might have thought they were prior. And to take a risk on that and mortgage everything and be wrong is just a horrible, horrible fate for the fans. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoy this and you want to listen to our other products, you can listen to the Eye on the Illini podcast. If you're an Illini fan, it's fantastic, or a Big Ten fan. You can also listen to the IlliniGuys Sports Spectacular. That's our 2-hour weekly Illini-centric radio program that's on over 20 states across the state of Illinois, and it's on a podcast. Just search Illini Guys Sports Spectacular. And if you're a Big Ten fan, you can listen to Big Sports Radio. You can check that out as well on any podcast distributor, Big Sports Radio. We cover the Big Ten and big sporting events. If you have any comments, put them in the comments section below, and keep moving forward until next time.